Going live. And we are live, I believe, going out over the power of the internet. For some reason, we got a black screen, so I'm just going to double check just to make sure we are actually going out live. Yes, we are. It is. It just won't come up on the thing. There you go, and there it is. So, welcome to Aussies taking over the NBA. What have we got? Tuesday night, 7th of January. First one for the new year, is it?
Yes, I
Yes,
believe
it
we
is.
recorded on New Year's Eve.
Yes, so Christmas has come and gone. New Year's has come and gone. It is a new decade in the NBA.
It is, and the only player to play in 4 decades is still going. Vince Carter.
Vince Carter, man. It could have been Dirk Nowitzki. No, I think
No,
he was 2002. Did he get drafted? I think.
I think it was '01.
Did he play 17 years? 18 years?
No, he played 19. He's a
19.
2000.
Oh, 01, yeah. But yeah, anyway, it's Aussie taking over the NBA. We've got a lot to talk about. Dante Exum obviously having a really good night at a resurgent sort of Cavs taking L's, but he had a good individual night. Ryan Broekhoff injured. What a shame, man. It sucks for him. He's broken his foot. No, his leg, his lower leg, his tibia. And that's. Should we just start by talking about like his Olympics is in jeopardy?
It is. I mean, he'll get back in time. I do think the Mavs are going to make the postseason, but he's probably not going to see game time coming that deep into the run. 8 to 10 weeks out, we're looking at 2 months. Yeah, we're probably getting into game 70, 72 there. He was kind of bad luck, man, because he was pushing ahead of Justin Jackson. He was hitting some good balls. He was defending well. He was just kind of pushing into that team. I'd like to see Rick Carlisle take a gamble and sign him again. I mean, it's a pretty cheap deal, to be honest with you, for deep rotation, especially when he was giving decent minutes or starting to give some decent minutes. But yeah, man, what a shame for him.
I
And what a
mean,
shame.
it sucks because if you look at the Mavs are kind of in the shot for the playoffs too. And if he, for example, got like a 3 or 4 week injury, he might have like a little return period. Like I think it's going to push him to the back of their rotation again. And we already saw like huge stretches of him not being able to get into the team basically, which was kind of a worry in itself. Now, like what are we going to see when he comes back if he gets back before the playoffs?
We might see some late garbage time. I think probably once they get to game 80, game 82, some rest period for Luca, some rest period for their other guys. Maybe Brokoff gets an opportunity to prove himself there. That's my feel on it. I do think the Mavs will be in the playoffs. It's just a question of what seed, and if it will be a first round exit.
It'll
I
more
don't.
than likely be a first round exit, but
Yeah, look, for as good as Luca is, the team still needs, I think, probably an elite center. They're an elite center away from really having a run at the Clippers and the Lakers, even the Rockets to some extent. I mean, James Harden can get chalky on any night of the week.
he goes missing in the finals a little bit.
He
But
does.
they're a weird team though, man. They're like you just can't go. The Rockets are going to do this in the playoffs because you just don't know what the fuck is going to happen.
But you don't know what's going to happen from night to night. You can shoot 1 of 20 and then they lose by 30 points.
Mm.
And Westbrook's still very much an unknown factor in that team. Just watching that team, just like, are they winning? But why? Why are they winning? Like this, there's just chunking threes like no tomorrow, and there is no basketball here whatsoever. You might as well just be paying 1-on-1. Harden plays someone's best player on your team, and you play 40 minutes of that and see who wins. Because
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
really what
Just take everyone off the court and Harden just plays half court 1-on-1 for
that's it.
8 minute quarters, and then that's it. That's the end of the game.
Pretty much the game as it is now. Uh,
We'll get to because they played the Philly, so we'll get to them when we go through Philly. But just on man, Broke off. I like that sucks for him. The timing is just if it was if it was sort of early December, maybe late November, he might have had the time to recover and get back and play some sort of proper role in coming off the bench, because really he's kind of been up and down off the bench. Like sometimes he doesn't even get a Guernsey at all. It's been a kind of weird ride for him. Apart from when they had that blockbuster trade last year, where it was just like, we got no guys. Broekhoff has to play 18 minutes, and you were like, this looks decent, like sweet, and then back to just disappearing and not getting any minutes at all. So, man, I'm so bummed for him. It just sucks.
I think he's done enough. I'd hope he's done enough to prove himself in the NBA as a good deep bench rotational player, potentially taking some minutes. Like, he would work at the Bucks. He would work at Philly. Like, he'd work in teams where they need that 3-point outside shooting. And the Mavs have been putting up some crazy 3-point numbers, but it still seems to be something that Rick Carlisle doesn't want to do. You just look at the plays where the positions is. It's kind of the Luka, get in, drive, kick, or score.
I think the weird part of that team is still like Dwight Powell. Like I said on the last episode, you just kind of like, he's just so limited. And it's nice. His hustle's good. He's not the worst player in the world. You're not going, get this guy out of here. But it just does one thing, and you then go, he has to play a lot of minutes too. And with Porzingis, you're kind of not really playing him at the 5 a lot. I don't know if you can really play him at the 5, like have him as a shot blocker and a kind of rim runner. That's not really his thing. He's going to be shooting more 3 balls. So I don't know. I don't know if this team really fits Broekhoff, but he was starting to sort of get at least something in there. So it's a bit disappointed to see him get injured. Should we quickly just go on to Exum and his fantastic night for the Cavs?
Sure.
The Cavs quietly just taken 4 Ls in the last...
Taking 4 Ls and an angry Kevin Love just smashing things on the sidelines.
Oh, did he? I didn't see anything about that.
Yeah, he got fined $1,000 and then requested a trade, and I'm getting out of here. And
yeah, I would too, but he's going to go to a contender, man, for sure. In this little trade window, he's going to go to a contender, and everyone's going to go, Kevin Love's on like the Lakers or something. Not the Lakers, but...
He was on like a 2-year deal, but he's on such a big, long deal. I think he's got another 3 years of $90 million. It's such a big amount for any team that's just really sewn up the last 4 years, the next 4 years in that massive off season we just had. Then it's kind of hard for them to take on that contract unless they're moving like a dead contract. You kind of what do you trade Blake Griffin plus assets?
Ooh, interesting.
Go to Detroit, but Detroit's not really a contender.
Yeah, that's true. True.
That's really the only one I can see that makes sense, because I honestly think Blake Griffin will retire. I think his body's enough. He's already looking like he's going to be out. We'll get onto that with Detroit, but that's another thing, looking like it's season-ending knee surgery for him in the next week or so. So that.
What? That's legit.
That's legit. Yeah, it's
for Blake Griffin.
Yep.
Oh man, then you won't be able to trade him then.
If it's just a dead contract, if you're willing to take it, the Cavs can take some dead contracts and for some draft picks.
30. He's on 34 mil. Holy moly! There, I've just fired up the trade machine, and Kevin Love and Blake Griffin is a trade. This trade is successful.
There you are, mate. The trade machine is right in here. That is the trade machine. But yeah, Exum playing really well, man. Just looking awesome, shooting the ball. Some awesome slashing floaters, doing what he does best. Delhi just being Delhi and just putting that shot away for good, I think. Facilitating on the pick and roll. A lot of Colin Sexton, a lot of Garland, a lot of ISO ball with the Cavs. They've just gone through a bad stretch of just terrible basketball. Terrible to watch. And it's funny, in that game against the T-Wolves, I think they were down 18 points and Exum scored, I think it was 16 in about 7 minutes or 10 minutes or something like that, something crazy. Got them back in front, and then they subbed him, and they lost by 12 points. And just like, hey. Great individual effort, really good, but we're tanking here, buddy. Just go sit down on the bench.
Love your enthusiasm, but we're trying to lose games here, so have a
Delhi.
seat.
Delhi, get out there.
He only played 4 minutes in that T-Wolves game, Delhi.
Yeah,
I think he's had one of his last 6 threes. So again, that 3-ball, man, 12%. It's a real worry. Can you see maybe if Broekhoff comes back, him getting into the Olympics team along with Exum and maybe Delhi missing out?
Oh, I think that you have to really. No, I don't think Delhi misses out. I think that you can't not keep Delhi there because I was thinking about this a lot in the lineups with Simmons and how you would run Simmons with this team, and essentially you just play shooters all around him. But there's going to be minutes where they're going to come off the floor, and you can go to that traditional style of play with Paddy Mills being that shooter 1-2 pick and roll kind of guy, and Delhi the facilitator, and that's in the backup minutes because you want Simmons clogging up the paint in FIBA rules, and he's able to do that with the shooter's floor. But Delhi doesn't fit into that shooter's floor. But you're going to need a backup point. Look, there's no reason why Dante Exum can't play a small forward role or backup 2 minutes as well. That's your kind of four guards: is Mills, Simmons, Exum, and Delhi. Whether Delhi and Exum get on the court, I'm not sure. But I mean, they took Sobi, and Sobi didn't really play at all. So there's that.
Yeah, but that was Lamanis, man. A lot of, a lot of rumblings sort of were coming out that there was a lot of nepotism involved in that in terms of taking Glidden and Sobi.
Of course, it's nepotism. Why would you take Barlow? Barlow's like 40 and crap. Like, it was you did that. You didn't pick Dengadell, and I would have just taken Dengadell for the experience and say, hey, come with us for 2 weeks. We know that you're going to be a good player. You're athletic. This is going to be good for you to get into the team, be around these guys, work. But, why would you pick David Barlow as a 40-year-old who's probably going to retire from the domestic league in the next couple of years? You know what I mean?
Is he 40? He's not 40, is he?
He's about 37.
36, yeah.
He's not got a long career ahead of him. He's down in the twilight of his career. So I don't know why you don't take the young guys. And start building, upskilling that dynastic approach that we've had to Australian basketball over the last 10 years. Because, some of these guys aren't going to be around forever and they're getting on in years. So you want the young ones to come through. So it was just weird that he took Barlow. I mean, I would have taken Glidden and Sobi. I don't think Glidden was anything special. Maybe a knockdown three-point shooter, but Barlow, for my mind, was just absolute insanity.
I wonder, we've got Ben Simmons coming. What kind of guards we're going to have to sort of shove into this team?
I don't think you're shoving guards. I think the lineups, I was thinking about this. The lineups you play with Simmons is you play Simmons at 1, Paddy at 2, Ingles at 3, Bolden at 4, and Baines at 5. And essentially you've got a floor full of shooters. You can play Landale at 4. You can mix Landale and Bolden at 4, Baines and Bogut at 5, because Simmons can post up and Bogut can facilitate, and Bogut doesn't need to run the floor. There's some good little mixes in there. You've got, Ingles and Broekhoff potentially playing that small forward rotation. That, you've got a floor full of shooters. Paddy at the 2 can just take over in deep garbage time. Simmons doesn't need to take over, but he can be that defensive menace on a big lineup with Paddy at the 1 and Simmons playing that 4-1 kind of rotational role point forward.
There's going to be some interesting wrinkles, man, if Simmons does play in the Olympics. Brett Brown's going to have some good weapons at his disposal. I think we've got an array of pretty good guards in terms of Delhi, Paddy, Ben Simmons, and then Joe Ingles kind of acts like a ball-handling guard as well. It's going to be interesting. And then, I don't know if Dengadell maybe can fit, Is he going to fit?
I don't look, maybe deep bench. You're taking a deep rotation. It's about the experience. It's about training with these guys, playing with these guys, getting into camp. Look, from my mind, Mitch Creek is probably the unfortunate one. Nick Kay doesn't go in this team, I don't think. I just don't think that he fits in a lineup with Simmons clogging the paint, because Nick Kay's a paint player. We don't need another in that kind of style of play. So that's.
But who is our premier paint player really besides Bogut and Baines, I guess?
Simmons. Simmons is powerful.
Yeah.
He's a 3 foot, 5 foot specialist around the rim. You don't want 2 people in there clogging up the lanes.
Yeah,
this is going to be the Giannis style play. You have Simmons at the point, 4 shooters: Baines, Baines, Ingles, Bolden, Orlando, and Mills, and you just stretch the floor. And then you've got some really good defensive wrinkles on rotation as well. So it makes a lot of sense to do it that way. And then when Simmons is off the floor, you have Delhi, and you run that traditional style that's worked with us for so long. And you can have Exum on the floor or Exum and Simmons at once, and you've got 2 slashers potentially with 3 shooters. So the guys that are probably going to miss out in this one, obviously, Sobey, Glidden, Barlow should have never been there. But I think Nick Kay will miss out.
I wouldn't say miss out. It's just like you weren't really meant to be here anyway. So
I think Nick Kay will miss out. I think he played astoundingly well in the World Cup.
Yeah.
And same as Mitch Creek. I think Mitch Creek will either snag the very last spot. But looking at, Lamanis and picking Cooks over Creek is just like, how could you justify that?
And then Cooks, of course, getting injured, and Creek coming in anyway. I don't know if Creek really had the greatest World Cup, but in terms of his NBL season that he's having, it's enough to make you go, okay, that guy needs to get picked. He's probably the best of our NBL talent at the moment. Kay's probably on the same level, but in a different role, if you know what I mean. Like, it's like a draft where you don't pick the best player in the draft because basically you don't need another guard, you need a power forward type of thing. So both of those guys are probably on the same level. In terms of NBL talent, I don't think Goulding, again, you got to try and shove Goulding into this team. Like,
I don't shove Goulding into this team at all. Like, there's no need for it. You've got the array of shooters. You've got the length.
He's a pretty good shooter, but
pretty good shooter. Maybe you put him in the 2 guard, but I'm not too sure.
I'd like to see him and Ben Simmons, man, as one of the shooters. Imagine Paddy Goulding, Bolden with Simmons playing like point small forward basically, and then Baines twinkle toeing out to the corner. Man, imagine the shooting; it'd be outrageous.
Outrageous.
Now licking my lips, man. Come on, Olympics.
Let's get on to the Phoenix and 50% in this little run. 4 games, 2 wins, 2 good wins. Good win against the Knicks, good win against the Blazers, who were kind of just strange. Basie playing some good minutes, although the Grizzlies they've just come out of nowhere as this team that is a giant slayer. They absolutely hammered the Clippers. They beat the Suns. Ja Morant, I think, is probably
Ja Morant, like blackcurrant. Ja Morant.
Ja Morant, that's his. Ja Morant, that's it. He's a berry. He might be a dynastical player. I think that he's probably somewhat a better player than your RJ Barrett. You're probably your Zion Williamson as well. I mean, we really haven't seen Zion at all, and I don't think he's going to have a long NBA career. I think his body will he's too heavy, man. Just too big. Just can't bounce around like that, man. It's physics. Doesn't work.
It's physics, science, bitch.
Science.
I don't know, man. I don't know how, like, for watching some of the footage of Zion, it's like, it doesn't look like it should work, but then you're just like, it kind of does look like it should work. It's really weird watching him play, where I think he fundamentally, when you watch him, his fundamentals are still like at a really high level for using his body. It's kind of like when you watch Doncic, where you're just like, you're not athletic. Like, how are you doing these crazy things that beat guys? Like, what's up with this? Like, how does this even work? I think the same with Zion, man. Like, in the first couple of games he played in Summer League, like, you could instantly see, all right, he just gets his body there, puts his 2 feet there, plants, bang, and dunks. And you're just like, fuck, that's going to be dangerous in the NBA if he can, like, do this against grown men. We obviously haven't seen him at all because he's had those injuries. And Pelicans, not having a great season. But, the Grizzlies too, man. They're so just like playing carefree and just fucking go out there and ball. And it's good to see. I don't know how many teams really have that. Like, we saw the Sacramento of last year kind of had that, where you're just like, they just went out and just fucking balled their asses off, and that's how they won games. But then if you look like Jay Crowder as a veteran on that team at 29, and then Valanciunas, it's not like, it's starting to look a bit slim now, like Solomon Hill. And then beyond that, it's like guys that you just like, they'll try their hearts out, man. And that's what's winning them games. And I think they're going to be little sneaky dark horse to make the finals, to make the playoffs rather. But quietly, the Spurs have just snuck into that 8th spot. And I don't know how legitimate that is. And Oklahoma just quietly having a positive plus 500 record. Just like, what? How's this happening? What the hell?
Good team, man. They've got some good players and they've got some good depth. And they've probably got the loss of Westbrook has made that team more efficient. I think Chris Paul's still playing. He's definitely playing within his contract level. He's running that team There was a game against Philly today. They lost, but running that team well and showing that he's not far off that max contract in terms of running a team that's potentially in rebuild mode.
I think any player that is as competent facilitatively as Chris Paul coming into a team with Steven Adams in it, you're like, yes, I want to play with this guy because he's clearly a guy that's really sort of is happy to put himself in the right spots, doesn't have to just get the ball on offense all the time. At the same time, you can run pick and roll and he can short it and shoot a little floater or shoot from the foul line. I think he's shot a few jumpers even this season. So I'm not surprised that is kind of working, that two man like Steven Adams and Chris Paul. It was just watching it with Westbrook. You were just like, this is weird, dude. Like the amount of times he just fire the ball at Steven Adams, he's just like, just put it in, and you're like, okay, no, a good offense, Russ, nice. You know what I mean? So it's good to see him playing well. Back on the Phoenix Suns, have they just kind of dropped back to where we thought who they thought they were? We thought they were
a little bit better than who we thought they were going to be, but close to what we thought they were going to be. They just don't have the depth and the talent to take teams and push teams all the way and get those wins in big moments. So
it's a strange one, man. Like they've got so many just. I could see this guy getting hot and winning a game, nice. But then you watch it and you're like, it's not happening. Like Booker will get hot and they'll win a game, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, Booker's the closer. But then if you're watching highlights all the time, you're like, how good's Booker? He's such a good closer. But then you watch their record and it's like win, loss, loss, win, loss, and you just like you don't get the real story about Booker, sort of thing. But I still like him as a closer, and I don't know what level he's got to go to.
It's he's not a true point guard, and so you kind of watch him. As soon as they double team him, it's kind of like, all right, and then you've got to kick it to an open player, and that doesn't work, and he gets very flustered on the double team. And I think a lot of teams use that against him in crunch time, and that's where those minutes kind of go for wanting, and why they probably haven't won as many games as they should have. Because really, Ricky Rubio is not a crunch time point guard.
He's a strange one. He's dishing the ball. He's diming up guys really well, but it still doesn't feel like he fits in like the offense really. Like you get it. You're like, oh, I get it. Like he doesn't shoot the ball well, and he looks to find guys, but at the same time, it just I don't know, man. To me, it doesn't work.
Not for Ben.
The other thing is DeAndre Ayton's back, and that looks like I like Ayton. That looks good, and you watch him, and you're like, this should work. Nice. So I'm thinking maybe in about 8, 9, 10 games when he's really probably bedded in, he might emerge as a guy. It's like, oh, he's winning them games. Like he's doing things that are getting this team over the line. We'll have to wait and see on that. But quietly, Bainesy's just playing really well again. He's just back to his old self, just being his best self on the court. It's great to see.
Indeed.
20 points against the Knicks. Sorry, yeah.
I was going to say let's talk about that 20-point game because I think he just shooting the ball well, just getting back to that pre-injury Bainesy again, which is what we want to see.
Yeah, 7 of 16. He had grabbed 12 boards as well. Quietly, he's just upped his rebounding a little bit more. Ubre's kind of done a lot of their rebounding this season, where you look at the way their team's set up. I've noticed a lot of teams now, their guards and forwards are starting to rebound the ball more. And it's a new thing where I don't know if it's the evolution of the three ball, where a three ball is going to go further off the rim, bounce further. You're not just getting under, grabbing boards and putbacks and stuff like that. I'm noticing guards are basically rebounding a lot more, sort of out near the edge of the lane and stuff like that. And that's where like Bainesy hasn't really rebounded the ball in terms of volume this season, but now he's starting more. I think that's mainly because Ayton's back.
Playing the power forward position. I got to dash for 2 minutes. Keep talking.
Oh wow, I got to take this pod. Was this on the Kings? I think on the NBA. On the NBA, Andy's done this to me twice. Crazy. But the Suns, man, I'm not 100% sold on the Suns. Like I've definitely am going to walk back a little bit from the preseason prediction where I basically said this team will be lucky to win 20, 25 games. I think they've got the ability. You can see it. They've got to the line, and you're just like, all right, I want to see you make that step over the line, and that's what I want to see from this team. And I'm not not quite seeing it yet. But I like where Aiton's going, man. Him coming into this team, returning, like he gives a nice around the rim presence, and I think it's helping Baines where Baines doesn't have to always play at the perimeter. Like he doesn't have to always play inside and kind of play this all-round game where I have to step out, I have to come over here, I have to draw charges, I have to be in the lane, I have to clog up the paint. I think it's made him a little bit more versatile, and that's why he's scoring, his rebounding's gone up a little bit. There's a lot more action around the rim. The Rubio thing again, man, I just can't. It just, whenever you see him get the ball and dribble around, you just go, man, can somebody else just have the ball? I just don't want it in his hands. And whenever he's taking shots, you just feel like they're not going to go down. Although he's shot the ball all right in a couple of these games, I just never feel like if he's a team in the playoffs, he's going to be the guy that's disrespected. Other teams are going to come in and just be like, yeah, we want Rubio shooting 15 shots, 13 shots a game in this game against the Blazers. 7 of 13, admittedly a great night, only 1 of 2 from 3. 1 of 3 from 3 against the Lakers in a loss, 2 of 7 from the field. That's good. I like that. And having nine assists, that's a good game for him. Obviously, it's a loss against one of the better teams in the league in the Western Conference. And then if you look at 3 of 7 against the Knicks, 10 assists, which is good. Okay, I'm happy with that. That's good. Good to see. Devin Booker playing really well. Taking 27 shots. It's a lot of shots. Then against the Grizzlies, Rubio 4 of 11. It's too many shots, man. Those extra 4 shots are, to me, what kind of sets him apart as an issue in this offensive team. Just having a look at Saric too, I'm not sure he fits this team. Only 6 minutes against the Grizz, 4 minutes. Like, to go from where he was at Philly, where he was kind of a really, really sort of revered character and hustle all-round guy who shot the 3 ball really well. It's kind of an inside-outside player and a good hustle guy. I'm just not seeing it at the Suns. Maybe there's an attitude thing where he's gone to a team that he doesn't want to be at. 17 minutes against the Blazers, only 14 against the Lakers. And then kind of to the bench, basically, with Ayton coming back. I think Baines is just getting into this team at the moment on pure hustle over a guy like Saric. And I've seen Saric have the kind of, I'm just bowling hard when he was playing at Philly. I think he's still on a rookie deal. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with him. I think he's a key piece. And if they can get him shooting the 3 ball and having an impact, it's an important piece of this team. I'm still going to just keep talking about the Suns because I don't want to move on yet without Andy coming back. He's just disappeared. I'm not sure where he's gone. But later on, we got to talk about the Utah Jazz quietly just having a great sort of middle part of the season. With Joe Ingles back. Detroit, Thorne struggling still. It's going to be hard to talk about that. Spurs doing really well. While we're broken, shout out if you like the Sydney Kings. On the Kings dime, we do a Sydney Kings podcast. Shout out to that if you want to go and find out about some of Next Stars, some of the NBA talents playing LaMelo Ball, playing for the Hawks. Shout out to the Sydney Kings. We've got Didi Luzado, who plays for the Pelicans, young Brazilian talent. So if you want to watch some NBL and the Sydney Kings and hear us talk about Sydney Kings, then go to On the Kings Dime. As always, you can like, share, and subscribe all the way up here. SoundCloud on Podcast Addict and iTunes. We're live at the moment on YouTube. We have a Facebook page also and a Twitter, so make sure you subscribe to all of those. And I'm just continuing to sit here live as Andy's not here. The Spurs, I'm just going to move on myself. The Spurs quietly just whittling their way into the top 8 after being quite poor to start the season. Really, just embarrassingly poor. Really, a real worry that they were just languishing at the bottom of the Western Conference, looking like a team that might even fire Popovich. Andy, as he's returned, we've just moved on to the Spurs. He's just plugging himself back in.
That's it, mate. Plugging it. Get locked back in.
Lock himself back in. The Spurs, we moved on to the Spurs in your absence, or I moved on to the Spurs in your absence. Quietly, they just snuck back into the top 8. What's happened there? Where did that come from?
I think it just came from the team actually believing that they could do it, I don't know if it's a self-belief or a bit of coach magic. They're the same team. They play the same game every game. You look at a lot of what their wins are like, and it's based on if Patty gets hot or not. You look at this game. So against the Dubs, Patty scores 18. Against the Bucks, Patty scores 21, plus 11, plus 19.
Quietly, what's with just losing to the Bucks and then scoring 126 against the Bucks? What's up with that?
I actually watched a bit of this game, and the Bucks were very cold, man. Giannis was like none from six. Middleton was 1 from 7. They were just cold shooting. It's one of those nights, man. You can't win. What are they? 34-6? No, 30-6 now. 34-6.
32-6, yeah.
Yeah, you can't win them all.
And
And I
then,
think
like, was this a back-to-back, like second day back-to-back? I know it's they just played the Spurs before and beat them.
I don't think so. I think it was a home and away, so I don't think it was a second day back to back. But it just shows you how good Pop is tactically when you're playing teams back to back to come in the next day and change things up.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe this is a bit of what we might see in the postseason for the Bucks. And you have to look, postseason basketball is completely different to regular season basketball. It's just you take the loss the first game, and the second game it looks completely different because each coach has made their little adjustments. And I think this is a prime example of potentially what we're looking at with the Bucks postseason, and that's inconsistency, really. Um, I mean, they've been devastating during the regular season. However, in a 7-game series, we've seen that they haven't been quite able to get there in the last couple of years.
It's the Giannis effect too, and I wonder how much, Giannis playing that game and then traveling on a back-to-back. Does he have the stamina for that? Like he's obviously got a lot of stamina in terms of his NBA pedigree.
It's such a high taxing volume to play basketball, like end to end defense, end to end dunks, putbacks, rebounding, a lot of balling over guys. It's taxing work, man. I think that they secure their number one spot in the East and then just manage him, load manage him, getting ready for the finals. But he looked so gassed last year. He just looked like he had nothing left. And in that Olympics, not the Olympics, the World Cup, man, he looked gassed, looked terrible. It's just too much basketball for one body to handle.
He's pretty fit, but he's pretty freakish though.
I mean, he's the Greek freak, but I mean, it's a different game than playing in a mid range and
True.
like with no defense. It's a really like post playing is quite taxing on the body, really tiring. Backing down against guys and getting back and being that defensive rim protector as well, which he quite does quite often.
I'm just looking up people reference to see Spurs. Wonder if they've upped their offensive rating a little bit. Yeah, pace 12th of 30, points per game 7th. The offensive rating, they're up to 9th. It's a big thing for them. The defensive rating, 22nd out of 30. That's pretty poor for the Spurs. I think offensively, we've been saying for months now, offensively is where the Spurs need to click. They just went full blown, we're not shooting threes. And then you're kind of just going, like, why? Like, I don't understand. The whole game is built around you've got to shoot threes. The way the spacing works, the way, the game's refereed, you have to just shoot threes. And I wonder if they're going sort of more towards Paddy shooting threes off the curl, and that's his thing. He had 18 points, 5 of 11 from 3 against the Dubs, and then 6 of 10 from 3 against the Bucks. The Bucks give you a little bit more space to shoot those threes. And yeah, I like your comment about Pop, where Pop analyzes someone and then goes, right, I'm doing this, and this. And then the next game, everyone goes, oh, straight jacket. Oh, no. And then, Chinese finger traps people like that, which sometimes makes you just go, ooh, will they just sneak their way out of the playoffs, out of the first round if they make it? I still look at it and just go, no. I can see him making the playoffs, but
they're missing Davis. They're missing Davis Bertans pretty badly. He was such a champion 3-point shooter.
Yeah, and it's just like, you shoot too many threes, get out. So the Spurs motoring on nicely. Who are we going to go to? The Philly. Let's go to the Philly now.
I'm on the Philly. It has been a disappointing run, to be honest with you, with Philly. They got absolutely drubbed by the Pacers on New Year's Eve.
Partying a little bit too hard, maybe?
It was early game. I don't know. They were just... Horford doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Someone's got to go. It's someone's got to go. I do like Brett Brown's bringing in Trey Burke lineups with Simmons on the floor and playing Simmons in a traditional power forward role. and putting Burke as more of the point shooting point, and that gives you more efficiency offense because man, Trey Burke can score, and they've just guaranteed his deal for the rest of the season as well. So it's obviously something they're going to be going to more and more. But Horford just kind of he's expensive nicety as opposed to a necessity.
Yeah. Is it kind of getting in the way of Embiid as well?
It's getting in the way of Embiid and Simmons. Like the offensive ratings, the best offensive lineups are when Simmons is on the floor and Embiid's not on the floor. Like they just get in the way of each other. The only way to stop that happening is that when Embiid's on the floor, Simmons takes outside shots, and when Embiid's off the floor, Simmons plays in the paint. And if he could do both, this team would be a championship winning team, hands down.
Embiid wasn't in this Pacers game.
No, he wasn't.
You would think, Horford had a pretty poor night, 2 of 12, 1 of 4 from 3. He's a guy that I feel like if you're giving him open threes, he's going to knock it down more often than not. But that's kind of leaving a little bit. Like I'm kind of now watching him just going, oh, I didn't knock those down. Oh, he didn't knock that down. Oh, what's going on?
His efficiency's definitely dropped on the offensive end. And in the defensive end as well, he's kind of getting caught in weird positions and fouling a lot. And I don't know, maybe just not feeling his love. And he's come out publicly and said he's not feeling the offense and his part in it at all. And he's
really,
he's come out publicly and said that the offense is not he's limited in his offensive capabilities under this system, which is true because they're either going to go to Harris who puts the ball on the floor, Richardson who is the highest three made attempts in the team, Simmons in the paint, or Embiid in the paint. Where does Horford fit in that? You don't really need. You just need a knockdown 3-point shooter at the 4 really, or you play Harris at power forward and you have a small forward that can knock down threes. Because that's all you need in a team with Simmons. You don't need a guy who kind of just operates in the mid-range on the baseline. There's no point. It's nice to have him as a 5 when he comes off the floor, but Kyle O'Quinn's not that bad 5. Bolden just has completely fallen out of rotation.
It's gone. Just disappeared.
Even in the G League, he's not even starting for the Delaware Bluecoats.
It's gotten so bad that we're not even talking about him.
And it's bizarre, man, because this is the guy that was, knocking down 27 points against the Timberwolves of like 6 of 8 shooting last year. And he's just gone for no apparent reason.
And then we did have our eulogy chat last week, where last episode rather, where the whole end of the whole end of the season and then the exhibition stuff where he left the Aussie team. It's just weird. Like, it really is weird, man.
Yeah, it's not fantastic, but I'd like to see him either traded to another team.
Just not the Cavs.
I think that he'll probably move. If you're going to trade Horford, you're going to trade Horford for a guy that's on 28-30 million salary, and he'll be potentially in that trade as well, Horford, or one of the other kind of deep, high first round picks that have been stashed in the G League, which is just a multitude of them.
Just Jonah Bolden. I'm in the trade machine again. You know where I wouldn't mind seeing Bolden? In Houston.
Yeah, that'd work actually.
Jonah Bolden for someone like Cephalosha. Try this trade. Successful. So, I don't know, man. It's a worry for him. I feel like he's probably a better player or had some better stature in the team than Kyle O'Quinn. Kyle O'Quinn is the guy that's kind of getting minutes at the moment. And then if you bring in Horford in, you're essentially playing Horford no matter what. You know what I mean? Like, he's that veteran guy that you're playing him. And that's a statement to a guy like Bolden saying you won't be playing these minutes pretty much at all unless he gets injured. So it'll be interesting to see. Sorry, mate.
And Horford signed a 4-year deal, and Bolden's still got 3 years left on his deal to run. So it's kind of like, do you ask for a trade, or do you just wallow in the G League hoping for your day in the sun? Especially when you were playing regular minutes in the NBA last year, and there's a lot of teams that could use that kind of stretch length.
What about the Houston game?
Simmons played really well. It was just kind of...
He played phenomenal, man. 42 minutes. Defensively, just played so good. Like, he
especially
was
on
guarding everyone, man. On Harden, he was on everyone. Tucker, a little bit. Eric Gordon. It's good to see, man. He's such a good defender. It's crazy.
It's absurd how good he is. It was just look. It was a Harden, a couple of timely buckets by Harden, and some lackluster fourth quarter scoring from Philly that lost them that game. I think it was probably a closer game than the 118-108 suggests. But there's just some really you you can't rely on Tobias Harris at $180 million to score in the fourth. There's issues with your team. Like,
Yeah, I just, every time he puts the ball on the floor, like, apparently his numbers are really good when he puts the ball on the floor and gets to the basket. But then when he does it just doesn't look right, man. Like, the spacing's off, like he's too big. Like, he's always got a defender on his hip and it's easy to collapse in on him. And, like, they go into him in late game situations too sometimes, and you're just like, why? Like, either go to Embiid or, like, dial something quirky up for Simmons or something like that, but they're probably never going to do that. I felt like Embiid kind of got monstered by Capella in this game a little bit too, which is unusual for a guy like Embiid to, you know, he looked a little bit defensively naive at times, because we know Harden, the amount of times he finds Capella, you kind of want to limit that. But, yeah.
It's hard because he just finds him. It's almost like he's got a freaking magnet homing device on Capella's
Crazy,
hand.
man. It's phenomenal, man. As much as I don't like him as a player, it's just the amount of times you just like, someone just like, and it's just like, lob, just like, damn it. Like, I didn't even move. I just coughed. Like, damn it. And they went to Capella a little bit sort of in crunch time in this game as well. But what about just Eric Gordon just jacking up these threes?
Eric Gordon.
It's just like, this is not good offense, man. It's so horrible to watch. I'm just going to see what he ended up shooting. Eric Gordon off the bench, 2 of 10 and 10 of probably the worst threes I've seen, man. Just crazy, really crazy. 35 feet, like picking up the ball, like basically almost on the halfway line, shooting these crazy threes. It's just nuts. And then you look at you look at the scoring charts, and like these shots are really close to the halfway line that he's shooting, man. And they're not even on the chart. Like, they're like 30 feet. And like, bullshit, they're like 34, 35 feet. Like, get out of here, they were 30 feet. And some of these like 29 foot. Nah, that was right at the nail. There's no way that was 29 feet. Just takes these awful shots. What about Westbrook? I thought he played all right in this game.
He played well.
It was someone that Simmons couldn't really shut down. But I feel like it's not necessarily that Russell's great. It's just that he kind of has this savvy, and at the same time, you're kind of all right with him scoring as well. You're kind of just like, yeah, I'm all right with you shooting a few jumpers and some crazy shots.
Yeah, you're okay with him shooting 3-ball at any stage, anything in the mid-range. He's got his free throws up much better than last season as well. It seems to have got his yips out of that. But yeah, you want him shooting jumpers and 3-balls, but you just don't want him getting to the hoop, and he got to the hoop far too many times this game. But that's probably as well, when you've got Westbrook and Harden on the floor, you're kind of stuck with Simmons going, well, who do you want him on? Because there's no one in the team that can really guard Westbrook except Simmons, and there's no one that can really guard Harden except Simmons. Tobias Harris is a terrible defender. What do we do? Do you just funnel him? You funnel Westbrook into the low block so Embiid could come across, but then he finds Capella. It's just they've got that lob game down so well, and Capella's always in the right spot. He's such an intelligent dunk spot player that you're just like, there's nothing you can really do to stop that offense with the amount of defense that you have currently. I think that if you had one more long defensive slasher that was quick, then you could probably work with the two of them. But when there are two on the floor, it's just you either put Simmons on Harden or you put Richardson on Westbrook, and Westbrook's a much smarter attacker than Richardson is a defender. And then you're kind of stuck with he's either getting to the hoop or the line, or Harden's getting a three. So what's the lesser of two evils?
Yeah, and it's kind of like Matisse Thybulle, who didn't play in this game. He's kind of not big enough yet to guard in that sort of vein. And then if you look at the other guys, like Mike Scott's not a great defender, and then you look Trey Burke and Korkmaz
Korkmaz is a terrible defender.
won't really have any success. Norval Pell's not going to go out there, and then that's kind of it. So really, it's Embiid, and I don't think Embiid has he doesn't have the all-round ability, like the capability to be fast yet in the right spot yet also like chunky defensively. Like the only guy I've really seen over the last 2 years defend Harden and Capella at the same time is Draymond. And he's just a combination of he's crazy long, he's crazy chub, and crazy smart.
Crazy chub.
But he's just like a nugget, man. And he's able to like wait for Harden and know he's like, he just, like in that last year's series, he just destroyed Capella. Like a lot of the talk was like, oh, Capella's going to eat this team alive. They've got no rebounding. And Draymond just quietly was just like, I'll just stick him in my pocket. And it showed you that like, you've almost got to go, I got to take Capella out of this game. And then if you look at Philly's team, that's Embiid. But at the same time, like, I don't know if Embiid's patient enough and savvy enough defensively to be that patient. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Embiid hasn't kind of reached the same heights as he did last year. In spurts he has, but he hasn't been the dominant big man that he claims to have been. And I don't think that's Simmons' problem. I just think that that's him not... I mean, he dislocated his finger in the game today. That was pretty whack.
Oh, yeah. Embiid.
Yeah.
Damn.
Dislocated his ring finger.
Badly?
Yeah, like it was just at right angles, mate.
Oh, brutal.
So he strapped it back up, it's fine. But yeah, I don't think he's dominated the game that much. But the same as like Brook Lopez, man. Brook Lopez was just absolutely phenomenal last year. This year is kind of okay. Just like had his one good season. Yeah, I'm going to get paid now. And then it's just like, meh, back to just being standard old Brook Lopez.
But how staple is him basically just launching flaming bags though, really? Like, let's be honest. He was just launching flaming bags last year and they were going down.
Yeah, but he's not even launching volume this year. That's the thing. It's kind of like 2 of 5, 1 of 4, 2 of 6. Last year it was like 3 of 10, 8 of 10, 9 of 13. It was just like, yeah, man, this is not happening this year. So
like Eric Gordon, man. Eric Gordon just throws up flaming bags, and then people are like, "Oh, I saw the highlights. He hit 5 of them. How good's this?"
Yeah, not great.
We'll quickly just move to the Jazz. I think we'll bypass the Pistons because Thon is just.
Well, let's talk quickly about the kind of the Blake Griffin ending saga. I think if Blake Griffin does kind of bow out this season to a season-ending injury, I don't think he comes back, and I think that the Cavs have an expensive medical write-off. I mean, not the Cavs, the Pistons have an expensive write-off over the next 3 years, and they kind of just go into the toilet, like literally and figuratively. This team is just, it's nothing. There's talk of trading Drummond to Atlanta and just grabbing picks. I mean,
that was like on the table. Woj tweeted that out.
Yeah, like I think it'll happen because Atlanta have got some really bad expiring contracts that they can just waive. Detroit can just be like, yeah, see ya, like Chandler Parsons, Alan Crabb. Those are big deals that just are garbage. And I think Trae Young is intelligent enough to work with Drummond in the low block.
Man, imagine Trae and Draymond. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be. So gives Trae some help and improves that Atlanta team somewhat, but they've got a long way to go to build that. And then it just kind of just blows that Detroit team well out of the water. And we will see a lot of Thon. We will see Thon playing 35 minutes a night in that 5 position because they really don't have anyone else.
But will we though?
With no Drummond and no Griffin.
Yeah, they're gonna almost have to, or they're gonna have to bring someone in to take that load. Just take Willie Cauley-Stein. That'd be good.
Or Marquise Chris.
Yeah, Chris got waived. Good.
Oh, did he?
I don't like Marquise Chris. Not the worst player in the world, but yeah, I don't like him.
Jeez.
Yeah, man. I think we're about 3 or 4 weeks away from possibly seeing make or break for Thon.
Yeah, it's not quite contract time yet, but he's eligible to sign the extension and the qualifying offer, and that hasn't happened yet. So
So let's quickly just finish up on the Jazz, man. 11 wins in the last 13. They are flying.
Mitchell. It's all Mitchell, man. Mitchell and Ingles. Bogdanovich is playing really well too. Gobert's just pretty standard. But yeah, man, Ingles has been phenomenal. And Mitchell is just quietly putting up some ridiculous numbers.
Donovan Mitchell, 6 of 14 against the Bulls, 17 points. Against the Magic, 32 points, 14 of 21. These are like NBA 2K numbers, man. 7 of 18, 19 points. Against the Pistons, he had 7 of 15, 23 points. And then against the Clippers, oh no, that's the Pistons. Sorry, they didn't play the Clippers at all. But man, this team's back. Like quietly, I said it to you before we went on air. Just Joe Ingles had a little, have a couple of months off, just chill out for the first 4 months of the season. And now, bang, he's here. It's like he's in the starting lineup, and they look like the Jazz again.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see. It's awesome. Playing really good basketball. I think that Clarkson trade was exactly what they needed. I think Conley being out is exactly what they needed. And I've said that kind of from the beginning, that Conley would be either make or break, and it kind of just busted. And they've kind of got the keys right now in a shortened rotation to actually make this team successful. Will it last forever? I don't think so, but ride that wave.
They've had a pretty easy schedule over the last few weeks. Those wins aren't coming against the greatest of opposition. If I could just click the Jazz. If you look at this run, so it was they took 3 L's in a row against the Raptors, 76ers, Lakers, and they beat the Grizzlies, lost to the Thunder. This is where the run started. So they beat Timberwolves, Warriors, Magic, Hawks, Hornets, lost to the Heat in a nail-biter, then beat the Blazers, Clippers, Pistons, Bulls, Magic, Pelicans. In that stretch of games, really the Clippers is only the kind of win where you go, whoa, like that's a big win, and they played really well against the Clippers.
And then they lost to the 4 other teams that are kind of above 500. So the Lakers, 76ers.
The Lakers just above 500.
Slightly.
So, interesting. I'm just going to quickly pull up what's their schedule like, because can this run go on? That's really, I think, the Jazz had a lot of schedule luck last year, which is why they looked good. And then sort of towards the back end of the season. Actually, it's why they struggled to start the season. Then towards the back end of the season, they had just the easiest schedule, and they sailed all the way home. So they got New York, Charlotte, Washington, Brooklyn, New Orleans, Sacramento, Indiana, Golden State, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Denver. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams where the run probably should go on. They should beat the Knicks, Hornets, Wizards, Nets. And then Indiana's a tough game. And then you've got, the Texas swing, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio. And then Denver, Portland, Houston, Dallas. There's a tough stretch of games coming in the next sort of end of January, early February. So we'll have to wait and see what they're looking like at that stage. But if they can peel off another maybe 6-7 wins and really sort of cement themselves in that top spot, that top half of the West, it's going to be interesting. Because I think they've got more weapons this year. I think they've got a better array of, just there's more wrinkles to their team.
Yeah, and I think Mitchell's become a smarter player. And when he's your primary scorer, then you want a smarter primary scorer in crunch time, which he seems to be.
Then again, it could just go back to prime last year's Mitchell, just blowing games left and right, and me trying to say they're going to win 61 games.
Not happening.
All right, well, we'll wrap it up there. We'll be back. When are we going to be back?
Next week.
We'll be back next week to bring some more games. Hopefully some more Exum on the rise stuff. Hopefully we've got more the Jazz killing it stuff to go as well. And yeah, anything else we need to do before we say goodbye?
That's it, mate. Just like, share, and subscribe.
Yes, all the way along here. Oh, I always get that wrong. All the way along here. Like, share, and subscribe. And take it easy, everyone.
See ya.
See ya.